Hey, what's happening? It's the Dirty South podcast. We are back with the amazing Cabra Wrestling and Brant Parsons, Jason Fulmer on the bottom, and me, Ward Wrestling. And good to be back. We've had a heck of a week in the Southeast with all these dual tournaments going on, districts and regionals, and whatever they call them around the Southeast. We
Yeah.
call them districts and regionals down here. Some places call them sectionals, some places call them whatever. Uh, areas,
Areas is
Areas are a thing in
yeah.
Georgia.
Some areas call them areas. And that's awesome. So, man, what a week. Excuse me. Sorry. I've been a little bit under the weather. So I'm here. We're good. But man, what a week as I've been sitting on the couch trying to catch up to know a little bit of something to jump on and kind of go through this with you guys. Man,
Look,
everything is flowing.
to
One thing.
give you an idea of how crazy the weekend was, I posted my rankings last night around 9 p.m. And I
Woo,
was starting Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday at 4 a.m. with some stuff in between. I have 5 kids. I have to take kids places, but just a full slate of district duels. And then for some reason, they all went out and competed on the weekend too.
wow.
Take weekend off, guys.
I just thought about it. I don't even have my headphones. Does everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you
Yeah.
fine. Can you hear us?
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Well, the first things first, obviously, shout out to Lake Highland Prep. I mean, bringing in a tri meet to Florida that a lot of people are calling the biggest high school tri meet to happen in the state, um, and they won it pretty convincingly over Blair and St. Ed's. I was watching it on Rockfin, and really good action, man. So shout out to them. Did you guys get a chance to follow any of that?
I read
No.
Jason's piece on it. Um,
Thanks, Brant. I appreciate you being one of the 14 who did.
Yes.
but I mean, this is a big deal, and I wish that my schedule had been different to be able to go there. It didn't fit out for me. In fact, you called me Friday night and said, "Hey, can you go over there?" And I was really mad I couldn't. But this is something that Mike Plaza, the coach at Lake Highland, has wanted to do. I mean, I can remember talking to him back when he was still, FHSAA competing and being like, I want to create something to bring these teams here. I want to bring the big names to Florida and to pull it off and then go out there and tradition rich programs like Blair Academy. I know they're not like the Blair Academy that was ranked number 1 or 2 for a couple of years there, but still a top 10 national team. St. Ed's from Ohio, from my neck of the woods, always a power. And to bring them down here, one to compete, and then two to go out and push them around. So
Yeah,
big
no,
weekend for them.
it was pretty awesome, and I'll be honest with you. So I'm not a subscriber of Rockfin, so it's a little frustrating. I understand not being able to stream it, but when you put the actual dual results behind a paywall, um, it just seems to me to be kind of really against the idea of promoting the sport. I understand they're promoting like Highland Prep, they're promoting these programs and so on and so forth. But like you stream behind a thing, you might even write an article behind a paywall. But to actually look at the actual dual
Yeah.
results, I couldn't even see them to actually even write an article about it. So, but all that to say, that was just my own personal gripe. Um, yeah, I mean, Dan, shout out to your wife and for going out there and taking pictures. That was great. You know, based upon that, it looked like it was packed and there was a lot of excitement going on. And I'll tell you what, Lake Island Prep, if you don't understand the context, I mean, St. Ed's is no joke. I mean,
Yeah.
they are. I don't know how many state titles they've won in the state of Ohio. I mean, they have just been dominant. Blair Academy, unbelievable. I mean, Olympians have wrestled for Blair Academy. I mean, we're just talking a whole other level, and it is so awesome that Lake Highland Prep was able to host.
And look, I went on and actually subscribed to Willie Saylor's channel so that I could watch it. Willie Saylor was there, and he was kind of doing the event. And so,
Cool.
and I know where you're coming from. I understand that, and I also understand where they're coming from, trying to bring in Willie Saylor and Matt Scouts, and kind of hoping that that'll give them a big platform to showcase, you
Well,
know.
I mean, I'm an advocate of, media people getting paid for what they do and write and whether you're taking pictures or, you're putting rankings behind it and everything else. I just don't understand why I can't see the actual like so
Result.
and so wrestled so and so at 113. I mean
Yeah,
that
and
feels like it should be public record.
St. Ed's
and
matches on
I
track.
I did see where somebody made a public post of the St. Ed's box score, but I never
It's
saw.
on track, so I was able to look at it on track. So
Yeah.
St. Ed's
Well,
must put it on track. But anyway, I mean, all those other things aside, it's cool
exactly.
that they put it on, and
Exactly.
I wish I had more communication heading into it and out of it, to be able to properly
Cover it. Yeah.
cover it. But I'm excited that it was so well received, and the images I saw from it, has to get you excited.
And Lake Island Prep, I mean, like this is a tip of the cap to Coach Palazzo and that
Yep.
entire staff and everything else. He's built this program. It's a little bit different, right? I mean, I get really excited about, I don't know, Hernando High School, who has these local kids and, they get better and better and better. But it is equally exciting to watch, CJ Torres, who was originally from Illinois, or Jacob Levy, originally from Georgia, but they come together at LHP and compete against the best nationally. That's what Blair is. It's
Hmm.
a combination of just outstanding individuals from all over the place. I don't know about St. Ed's. I mean, I know, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that that event took place. And I hope, like Brant just said, if we do things like this in the future, the more information that we can get ahead of time and everything else, man, I'd be more than happy to share as much as I
Oh,
can.
what's cool in all around the state of Florida, not just at LHP. Now you're starting to see a lot of kids come in and show up on teams that are not, they weren't born in Florida per se, right? But
Oh yeah, every year we've
you're
got a
starting
New
to see,
York State placer somewhere. We've got
yeah, Washington and Missouri,
Washington
state
State
champs from
champ.
across
and
the
look,
country.
there's a bunch of Florida kids that have decided to go to LHP and are doing well, and they're blossoming. And Jace Paradine, happy for him. But yeah, shout out to Mike and the Palazzos and his team over there for doing that. Um, but
Hmm.
on going from national preps to FHSAA and GHSAA and AHSAA and all the other stuff that we cover here, Florida's rolling, huh, Brant? I know duels have started. I know you got.
District duels were completed on Saturday. I forget 30 some districts last week competed it out. We are all set for region duels on what day is today? Monday?
Today is
Yeah,
Wednesday.
it's Wednesday. Tomorrow night, Thursday.
Brad's still not sure if it's Monday
I'll
or
tell
if
you,
it's the middle of the night
I was sitting
outside
there
or
last
what.
night and I was like, oh, because my wife's going away this weekend. I'm like, oh, you got to leave tomorrow. She's like, it's Tuesday. Um, but Thursday night here in Florida, all except one region pod will take place. There's one going on tonight in South Plantation. Uh, this sets your invites to Osceola next weekend for region final duels. So I don't know if we want to talk results first or if we're just kind of glossing over the top because I know Georgia's further along than Florida. Um, or if we want to look ahead, but it's going to be an excite Thursday is an exciting night. I love duels. I grew up around duels in Ohio, and this is my favorite state competition that we do. I treat it like it's my baby because I've been able to
we can
been through it.
go
Yeah.
like this. I'll say to you and our buddy down there, Jason, I'm on a lot of meds. Sorry.
This is no different than
I
normal,
was like,
though.
oh, really?
Oh, we'll start like this. We'll just say, hey, what kind of stuck out to you? And we'll say 1A, 2A, 3, or whatever, right? Or
All
All
uh,
right,
right.
let's start with 1A.
at
Anything stick?
1A, what kind of stuck out to you at 1A?
So I'll
Uh,
start.
yeah, you started off.
So obviously the thing that I think that so I don't know the state nearly as well as you do, Brant. But I mean, you cannot not pay attention to Mater Lakes and Cardinal Gibbons.
Yep.
I think it was a 1 point duel
1 point duel
Yeah.
to put them into their spots.
Yeah. Shout out
And
to
for a
Kellen.
district title. They both are in line to wrestle
right.
again.
And we got Lincoln Park and Cardinal Newman, and that's great. And I hope those two teams go out and compete exceptionally well. But the truth of the matter is, we're fully expecting the Mater Lakes Cardinal Gibbons rematch,
Yeah.
um, and for punching a ticket, which is bizarre to me, but it is what it happens in the state of Florida. It also happens in the state of Alabama, so it's not unusual. But you know, I don't know that you can. I don't know that there's a bigger match, regardless of classification, this coming Thursday than that one.
Yeah. And listen,
In 1A, I would agree.
yeah,
Well, actually,
shout out to Kellen
I'd say
Messina for getting
there's a higher ranked matchup in
to
1A.
win that
Well,
duel.
tell me, who is it?
Uh, assuming they get there, because there's three top 10 teams there. But Zephyr Hills Christian is coming over to Brevard County and wrestling at Merritt Island. I have not posted my latest team duels because I'm still working on them because life is crazy. But when I do, Merritt Island will be 4, Zephyr Hills Christian will be 1. So it's about the same as Mater Lakes and Cardinal Gibbons
Listen, not for anything, but
with Cocoa Beach number
Cocoa
6.
Beach is going to be there too. And while they're not there yet, and I think if you talk to Coach Kelly, he's very young, but he's been grooming these kids up, and he's got some really good wrestlers, and he thinks he can steal some points. But yeah, but obviously, I think Merritt Island and Zephyr Hills are
So what you guys are telling me
Yeah.
is that if I'm traveling around the state and I can pop in anywhere, the two
Ooh,
duels that
in 1A.
or the two pods in 1A that you should pop into is down at Mater Lakes with Mater Lakes, Cardinal Newman, Cardinal Gibbons, and Lincoln Park, or
Yes,
pop into Merritt Island with Merritt Island, McKeel, Cocoa Beach, and Zephyr Hills Christian.
correct.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be.
I mean, I think there'll be some other interesting matchups um, of teams going through, and things I want to see. I'm curious. Lemon Bay is not at the level it was, but St. John Newman just looks so tough. I want to see.
Oh yeah.
I think that they blanked Bishop Verot in the finals, in their district finals. Bishop Verot is a tough team. They just the matchups there matched up. I'm curious to see how they do. Uh, Baker County, can they go again? I know Episcopal is banged up and sick. Um,
Well, and shout out to
so
Baker County, right? Because
because
last year was their first year there,
yes, and they,
and to make it to Kissimmee, and it's so awesome to see those new programs. Do you think we'll see another new program make it?
I think yeah. Have we seen Robinson or Anclote there? Uh, One of those is likely going through. Obviously, St. John Newman is just a different look,
Yeah, they're
but
new,
we
right?
haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But I think the rest of the way, we'll see a new team
We've,
from
hey, we,
from
we've
the
seen
bottom.
we've seen St. John Newman. They were just wearing different singlets.
That's what I said. It's a different look.
So you'll see.
But the
We'll see
bottom
one
of
from
Region 4 will be a new team also because
Central Key West, Coral
yeah,
Shores, or
we
Slam
might get to
Academy.
see Key West come up, and they've had to deal with the Somerset, um, in their bottom region for all this time. So we'll have a few new 1A teams there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Interesting. And listen, shout out to to 1A. I know our team, my son's team is a lot of new kids. We had the pleasure of getting Hernando in the first round of our district duels. So we went 83-0. But shout out to Hernando who won our district. They looked pretty good going in there. And shout out, you know what? I've never been over to the host school, the technical school. Was it North Coast?
Nature Coast.
Mhm.
Nature Coast
Coast.
Technical.
Mhm.
No, shout out to them. They put on a great event. And, shout out to, nothing better than when you show up to a school and it's a duel and their high school kids show up and their fans show up and you hear the roar of the crowd and you hear the eruptions and you hear the excitement. And I think that really made a difference for their program. And a shout out to them for getting into the finals there against Hernando. And just a fun, duels are always fun. But
They
yeah,
are. I
Well, I want
love
to get
them.
to Georgia, so let's jump into 2A real quick.
2A.
Um, as far as shockers, I don't know if I'm excited for Archbishop McCarthy to have won a district title. They're going to head to Somerset this week, but congrats to them for breaking through. Sebastian River won 2A 13. Lyman, I got to tell you, they're not going to make it out of this because Lake Gibson is visiting them, but Lyman is developing a core of wrestlers there that are talented, and it's
That's
been a
so awesome.
while. It's been
It
a
has been a
while since
while.
Lyman had anything, and so excited to see them.
Is
River
is
Ridge
a
had a.
is a while like Marco Miranda kind of?
I'm trying to think if even in my coverage days, if Lyman had any, they
And you
when I
know,
started in the mid aughts, I think they had a few
So
decent
Semrad was
wrestlers.
at Lyman at one point in time as well. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he was already gone by the time I started. So it's been a long time, but they're building something there. They won't get through Lake Gibson, but congrats to them on a district title and hosting it. And Braden River and Manatee had a matchup. They should meet again. Pinellas Park wants to get in on that. And I think those are the main ones coming through. Middleburg winning another district duels title also. So as
You know
far
what
as
stands out to
results, those stick
me?
out. Yeah.
What stands out to me is because of the reshuffling and not only teams moving to a different classification with Somerset up here in 2A and that sort of thing, and Jensen Beach being up here in 2A, but you also had a reshuffling of some of the districts, and now
Yes.
we see Winter Springs way over in
Yes.
Region
Region one.
1, right? And they get Ponte Vedra and with the pod
Well,
with New
that's
Smyrna
that's the
Beach
pod to watch because they've got
and
Clay
Clay,
coming in there.
right?
And Coach
So,
Reap has told me this is one of before the season that he felt this was one of his best duels team in a few years at Clay.
well,
Rocky's doing a great job.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one. That's probably your duel. I think that's your pod to watch um, this week. And I'm curious about the first one too with Gulf Breeze, Middleburg, Lincoln, and Pace in there. I'm curious on that one, but I think Winter Springs Clay with New Smyrna Beach trying to play spoiler.
How about
That's probably the pod to watch.
can Gulf Breeze make it to the dance?
I can't say I've looked at the matchups enough, but Gulf Breeze from
at
106 to
certain weights are tough.
106 to 150 are good. They just don't have anybody up top. And so it'll come down to how they match up in those lower 7-8 weight classes, and then if that's enough to uh, where they don't have the studs yet in the upper weights.
But they're building something special up there, man.
Absolutely.
So I remember sitting at State Duels last year, and Goog at Manatee was sitting there, and he's like, it's just really kind of where you get put, and all these different things, and who gets through, and I noticed Manatee's back there. They got Pinellas Park. They sit in the same one as Osceola and Braden River. Um, I don't think that they probably advance, but I do wonder if maybe we'll see a kind of a new team kind of come out of somewhere.
I think we'll see Braden River come out of there, and Goog's already texted me that maybe I was right when I picked them to win the district over him. He did not text me that he agreed with me when my preview came out, but I think we could see them come through. Um, the rest of them you're gonna see I
See the
think,
old names,
but you're just gonna see some 1A teams. So you're gonna see Somerset. You'll probably see Jensen Beach. Those are now 2A. You're going to see Lake Gibson and Tampa Jesuit be there on Friday at Kissimmee Osceola High School. That was the championship last year. Now it is a region final because of switching around with Jesuit now in Region 2 again. You're going to see Charlotte there most likely, and you're going to see Clare Winter Springs. So you got two spots there.
but we haven't seen Winter Springs in
That's true. We
Kissimmee
haven't
before.
we have. It's been a couple years.
Oh, okay, all right.
They switch when they got moved to 2A2, then they had to go through Lake Gibson. So they have been there, but it's been a while. Last year they may have given Lake Gibson their second toughest duel of the whole run. So we'll have a chance to see that. But so you might see one or two new teams there on Friday.
You were mentioning, you were talking about Goog, and before we get into 3A is the one thing I love. I mean, that guy just loves Florida wrestling, and
yes,
he shows up to the duels every year, whether his team is there or not.
Yep.
He shows up to support.
I will say, looking ahead,
Cool.
and this is a separate topic, which you don't need to get into today, but I'm dismayed at how how many events are going on that weekend. To
Yeah.
where if you're not wrestling on Saturday, you can't be there because there's just stuff everywhere. I understand. Hey, it's an 11-week season. 2 of those weeks are in the holidays. You want to get your events in. You want to get your
Right.
weigh-ins, your stuff in. But when we first did state duels, there was a very light calendar that went on at the same time, and you saw a lot of
That's no longer the
coaches.
case.
It's not the case. There's stuff
And
everywhere.
this year, I think this year the calendar has just done that for every weekend because the way everything fell. But yeah, typically, I mean, listen, and we're going to go into 3A. We're going to go into
Be-
3.
Before we go to
Before
3A,
we go
can I
through it,
just say one thing?
yeah,
All right. So the thing that popped up down at the bottom that cued me is Riverdale, and
yes,
I simply wanted to take a moment
oh
and
yes,
say that we all lost a good friend and an absolute great wrestling coach, a great person, and Chris Hayward. And if you didn't know Chris, it's a shame because he really was an absolutely wonderful human being. So anyway, I just wanted to take the second.
yeah. No,
Sorry.
you know what? I've been so swamped. I was like, this is obviously what we were going to open the podcast with, and
Hmm.
it has slipped my mind too. But um, I didn't get to compete against Chris like you did and get pushed around. I didn't.
No.
I didn't have to coach.
I got turned every single time.
I didn't have to coach against him. The thing that stuck out for me with Chris was I was, just doing Orlando stuff, and he was one of the first coaches that when I started doing the whole state was friendly to me, reached out, would send me information. Um, if I look back on my messages, like on my Twitter account, I probably have more back and forth with him than anyone else. Was always friendly to talk to me, even if again I was late to the show, but just one of the nicest guys. And the thing is, you won't meet anybody uh, that will say anything bad about because there just wasn't anything. There are coaches in this state that are great, but someone doesn't like them, even if it's right or wrong. You won't find anybody that didn't like Chris, and I think
I
that's a
agree.
testament to anything. And so thoughts with his family, with his friends, with the team he was still helping coach as he could, and everybody that he's coached and touched along the way. It was just a huge loss for everybody.
I agree.
Yeah, the only, I've obviously new to wrestling over the last 5 years or whatever it's been. And my relationship with him, I really got to know him through the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I got to, as I was interviewing old uh, inductees and new inductees, and I got to be a part of promoting that event. And he was always very welcoming. He was always very cordial and jokingly and telling me history of the sport. And just the brief moments I got to see him or meet him was amazing. So, shout out to his family and our obviously our prayers are with them. Uh,
Yeah.
so with that being said, you were mentioning the calendar and we're about to go into 3A and
Yes,
a team like George Jenkins who just congratulations to them who just won their first district title.
yes,
Their big tournament is the
is this week?
Moskowitz,
Yeah.
and the Moskowitz is the same weekend as the state duels. So yeah, they get through. They're not going to be at their own tournament.
And I think they could get through. There'd be an interesting match with Palm Harbor University. Both teams have some real studs. It comes down to how they match up, but they could very well uh, have a skeleton crew back at the school running the tournament with. And I mean, they're a deep program. They'll have a B team ready
Yeah.
to go. And that'll win some matches. But yeah, I thought about that because I thought about that when you texted me and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be at the Moskowitz. I'm like, oh, I bet George Jenkins won't be.
Right.
They'd like not be at their tournament.
No doubt.
Yeah. So
No
that's
doubt.
fun. But yeah, shout out to them for that. But go ahead. So 3A, what stood out to you? I know we had a
Well, I'll say one more thing on George Jenkins because the reason they hadn't won a district duels title was because of Osceola being in their district. They felt like they were getting close and would have liked to have another shot at them before Osceola moved to Region 3. I think this year could have been that year. It would have been a great district dual final. Um, but they do get the title, even though I think that they wanted to like really earn it, and they've been chasing that cowboy carrot, and they're just about to catch it, with some reclassification. Uh, the one to watch
Cowboy
is
Carrot. I love that.
Oh, boy, Karen, yeah.
Carrot with a K.
Oh,
South Dade, obviously, that's your team to beat, and they also happen to be in just the toughest district. Southwest Miami and Southridge had just a battle in district duels in the semis. A single point separated them. Southridge doesn't even get to be here. They're top 5, top 6 team probably in the state, and they're not even in the early round of regions. That's how tough it is at 3A 16. And South Dade still won by like what 30,
and
40
listen,
points.
shout out at that duel there. Shout out to Lazaro, who ends up winning it for them with a who majored the senior 113 to win that duel. They were down 3 going to that last match, and he got the major to win that. And that same duel, Myron, there was a big 1-2 matchup with him and the Southridge kid. He came out on top of that, and then going into South Dade, some shuffling happened, and he stepped up and wrestled the heavyweight kid and caught a win there. But South Dade comes out of that district, and they'll see them again in the region, right?
Yeah, Southwest Miami will face Columbus, which is not an easy region
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're
quarterfinal.
looking around at some really good, like just the
Yeah,
opening round match, that's probably gotta be one of the best opening round
yeah,
matches.
that's what I would say, and that starts at 5 on Thursday at South Dade. Um, any before we look ahead, anything that stuck out to you, Jason, on who won and is still alive?
No, I think that as you look around, you mentioned George Jenkins and that situation. You look down in the bottom left side of the bracket. You see a Wellington, you see Olympic Heights. It's kind of what we come to expect down there. You see Harmony and Osceola, and I got a glimpse of did it come down to the final match in that duel, or I just got sent a big pin that occurred. So.
Might have been a
Um,
big pin. I can tell you. Just keep talking.
Yeah, Vieira is in there as well with Fort Pierce Central. But it looks a lot like the usual cast of characters. I mean, honestly, of what we've kind of come to expect. So, um, obviously that District 16 down in the bottom right hand corner of the bracket is interesting to watch. But as I look through it, and I don't know it to the well as well as you guys, there might be a new face or two, but I still kind of expect we'll see some of the same programs back in Kissimmee
And
and
just
3A.
Are the
the
brackets on Brent? I'm on Cabra, and I'm pulling up all the results.
yeah, they're at the top of my schedule page. My homemade brackets.
Top of the schedule page. All right,
Go up to the
schedule.
I'm
top.
looking at the FHSAA page,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But just a 3A9, which you can also get all these results on Cabo Wrestling. I spent a lot of time putting them together.
Yes,
Osceola beat
where are
Harmony
you right
43 to
now?
34, and Harmony scored 11 points in the last 2 matches, so it wasn't close at the end, but a close match. Watch out for Vieira in that one.
Yeah.
Uh, and they're not quite there yet, but Fort Pierce Central building a really young team and some guys starting to kind of get the hang of it. I don't know that they'll beat Osceola, but you might see a couple guys get a scare there. Let's see. Going across, I'm curious to see Creekside and Flagler. I think we've seen both of them there at some point. Haggerty should make a return trip. They did very well in their district final against Timber Creek. I'm curious along the way, kind of things that stand out is like Venice and Bloomingdale and Palmetto and Riverview. Those are all teams I feel are fairly close. I know the Region 8 was very tight with Northport thrown in that also, or District 8 was tight with Northport also thrown in. So curious to see how they match up against the District 7s. As for new teams, I don't know. I'm trying to think who we haven't seen there that we could see there. But
So Haggerty's been there
Haggerty's
before.
been there before.
Um,
Flagler's been there. Have they? I'll have all these notes on my preview next week, but I don't have them.
well, and I've got a whole database. The question is how far they've gotten because I actually considered in this database the state tournament to be right now. Like I consider once the
Yeah,
bracket comes out to be the state tournament.
it's like the World Cup.
Um, yeah,
All
yeah,
the
and
all the
and even
qualifiers
though
are
the U.S.
considered the
goes
World
0 and
Cup.
2 and is gone, they still participated in the World Cup.
Yes. No, I mean the World Cup considers every qualifying part of the World Cup too.
Oh, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. You know what's interesting, and I know you're kind of thinking through that, but one of the things that really stood out to me when I put together this data was that South Dade. So you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, there's even more. I'm sorry. But South Dade is 33-1
Yeah.
in the history of the dual state tournament.
Yeah.
Lake Gibson is 32-1.
And you know why? Because they lost on Friday night to Tampa Jesuit, and South They lost on Saturday morning
That's right.
to Palmetto Ridge. Flagler Palm Coast has been there. They actually have a region title. They were semifinalists 1 year out of it so far.
So I have a question. So we shouted out if I'm a wrestling fan in the state and I'm free this weekend, we said at 1A we want to be either down in Dade County at the Cardinal Gibbons Mater Lakes or up in Brevard County at the Merritt Island ZCA Cocoa Beach.
Yeah.
If we're talking 2A and 3A, where are you sending people?
So my question before I'm going to add to your question, and that is, do we want to watch the best wrestling or do we want to watch the duel that's going to come down to the last match?
Right.
Because those aren't necessarily the same thing.
Well, I don't
Not
know.
in three, especially not in 3A.
Well,
Right.
we don't. I don't think we want to watch like an 83-0 duel. I think we probably want to watch something that's
So if I like, if
If
I'm
I
given
could
the
watch
choice,
the
I want
quarters
to
at
go
South
watch South
Dade.
Dade, Southwest. That's what I
Watch
want
it.
to watch.
Yeah. But if I can't transport myself quickly, in 3A, the Vieira one really stands out to me. Vieira Harmony in the quarters, Osceola Fort Pierce Central, and in the winners matching up. Vieira has, we talk about guys building stuff that came in to where there was nothing. And Jason Custer came into Vieira. He was not a teacher there, not doesn't have a kid there, but they didn't have a wrestling program. I don't know if anybody paid any attention. They did have a state champ or two along the way, but they were a program that maybe had 4 kids that had coaches that didn't really care about it. And he's like, I'm going to turn this into something. It keeps happening there, and now they have a chance to kind of shock some people with their region performance. So that's the one in 3A I'd probably go to, but I'd love to watch South Dade and Southwest Miami.
So going answer your question, Dan, for me, and I could be wrong about this, but in 2A, I'm super interested in watching what's going to happen at Winter Springs with Winter Springs, Clay, New Smyrna Beach, and Ponte Vedra. That's the one that I'm not saying that the others will be a slam dunk or anything like that, but I think that that's going to be a lot of fun. So
I'd like to watch that or the one in Middleburg.
if you
Region
got
1 is intriguing to me there.
there's the 3 places or 5 places or whatever places you need to send
Thursday night to go.
again.
And then the rest of you, everybody show up a week from Friday at
Good luck to everybody
High
out
School.
there. I know,
mhm.
Jason, you want to talk a little bit about Georgia before we get to Georgia? Just a quick shout out to a couple of girls that are Florida girls now in college. Gabby Tedesco, Claire Bowie, and Val were all up at the end. We had many more girls there. I mean, I can go through all the girls and all the boys that were at the duels, but these 3 stuck out to me for a reason. Gabby knocks off the #1 girl in the country in her duel against Iowa, which was awesome. Claire Bowie, you know, her and Petzinger have gone back. Petzinger got her, who's #2 in the country. Last time they met, she was able to get the best of Petzinger. This time, the scrambling in this match was unbelievable, such high level. But Claire Bowie was able to come out on top this time. And then, they picked 18 girls to travel with Iowa. Val was one of the girls that got picked. Although she did not get to compete this weekend, she was part of the team that got picked there, so she will be taking home a ring. So shout out to Val who got a ring. But yeah, a shout out to all the Florida boys and girls that were at the duels. A lot of them were there competing, but those are 3 that kind of stuck out to me.
Well, and honestly, I mean, I don't want to go off the rails here, but there were other Southeast kids that were, there. There were, King, King out of Tennessee was up there. Claire was with King, obviously, but lots of kids competing who have competed previously in the Southeast who are
Yeah.
competing on that next level stage. It's a lot of fun to watch them. It's a lot of fun to cheer them on, even when they're wrestling for Oklahoma State or somebody else, which makes it really hard for me to do so. But it's so awesome to watch them kind of get better and better and better and continue to you know, I don't know. I think I saw on a Facebook post, it was a small duel, Gardner Webb and Duke, but there were two Brandon kids, Tyson Lane and
And
Luke Williams, who were, competing for their teams. I mean, that is
yeah, we
so
could go through, we
awesome.
saw Van Hoke and we saw, uh,
Yeah.
Christian Guzman, and we can go through, we saw a lot of
Yeah,
girls.
I mean, the whole show could be about that,
But
but yeah.
obviously, beating the number one girl in the country, beating the number two girl in the country, and being on the national championship team deserves at least a little bit of a shout out. So I did. So how's Georgia?
So, this is a big question for the FHSA that I don't seem to um, understand. The state of Georgia has got two girls divisions that are wrestling prelims to make a final eight for each of those two divisions to compete in the state duels or for a state dual championship. There is obviously the Elite Eight down in Florida for the girls. Um, but why can't we figure out a way? Is there just not enough programs that have enough girls competing to be able to have a dual state championship? Brant, do you think?
I think it's on its way, but it was so hard for them just to get state duels in Florida.
I
This is
know.
something that they fought
Well, it was
for
so hard to
years,
bring girls
and it
in.
was so hard to bring girls. It's one of those things where um, change just seems to take a long time to take place here. You do have the Elite Eight duels this weekend in Orlando at Freedom. You'll see eight of the best girls teams there. They'll duel it out like they did last year. This year they're doing it the weekend before. Last year it was the same weekend as the state duels. Uh, so we'll have an unofficial girls state duels champions. I think South Dade looking to defend there. Um,
Can someone pick me up and drive me there? Be so.
and as things
I'm not allowed out of the house.
yeah,
Oh,
but that shit that I
Yeah,
like that.
that's house arrest has nothing to do with your current state.
Um, but
oh,
I think it's probably a while before it happens here.
Yeah, it's
I'd love
it's
to
just
be wrong on that, but I
it's a little
just
frustrating, but
it
I'm with
is
you.
we
Um,
and there's just not a lot of deep girls teams in some areas of the state still.
and shout out to Freedom for starting it, starting
Yep.
this duel so that the girls have a chance to showcase as well.
so I'm not usually a proponent of multiple classifications and many classifications and that sort of thing, but I will say that the girls, if you look at the pictures of the girls who have qualified for the state prelims and who will qualify, and many of those programs now have 14 girls, they
Yeah.
have 18 girls, they have 20 girls. Not everybody does yet, but creating opportunities seems to create participation, and
Yes.
it increases participation. The girls are super excited about it. I remember I attended the first ever girls state dual championships in the country in Tennessee like 4 years ago, and it was pretty awesome to watch. So anyway, I'm not going to focus on the girls because they actually have another week. They're going to do a
Yeah, they finished the week
prelims, and
after.
yeah, they'll finish actually the same weekend as Florida. Same with the state of Alabama, which will finish that weekend as well. They've got some preliminaries that are going on, just like Florida. And if you're interested in Alabama, I did a whole show with Eric Shankles, who is a coach in Alabama, but also does some rankings and that sort of thing. And we broke down a lot of what those matchups will look like. So to end this show, I think one of the things that's really interesting in the state of Georgia is it's a lot like the state of Florida. It's not, I don't want to say it's more of the same, but it is more of
Yeah,
the same. The only difference that we have between the two, well, okay, we have two big differences. There's more classifications in the state of Georgia than there are in the state of Florida. But also in the state of Georgia, they just finished, they seeded them yesterday, and it's a seeded tournament with 16 teams come Friday or Saturday. I don't Saturday. Come
Yeah.
Saturday. So you're going to probably see a rematch of Camden and Buford, the number 1 and 2 seeds in 6A. It's now 6A, six classifications in Georgia now. You're going to probably see that as your premier match. And last year, it went to 9 criteria before Camden was awarded the title over Buford. There's going to be some other good teams in there,
Only
and there's going to
only
be good
nine.
mix. Only 9 criteria, yeah. I think number 10 criteria is which coach looked better in a suit or something. I don't know. All
Where do
right,
you go
so
before they flip a coin and go, okay, you pick heads, pick tails?
I don't even know what 9 criteria. I don't even know
Yeah,
what the
I'd
number
love to know
9
what.
was. It's like the most escapes or something. Like what in the world is that about? Um, So Camden is obviously awesome. They're unbelievably talented. Down in 1A, it's probably one of the deepest brackets, but it's also a pretty clear. I can't imagine anybody beating Social Circle. They are the small school, and if most of the people are from Florida, and we're equating it, Social Circle is like your Mater Lakes. It's like your Somerset last year. It's your Zephyr Hills Christian. It's a small school, super talented. Toombs County and Bremen and Tryon, and these are really good programs. It's going to be an uphill climb trying to beat Social Circle. Now, the other classifications are a little bit more interesting. And this is where there was a lot of controversy from what I've heard in 5A about the seeding criteria. So, South Effingham ends up, they are the defending state champs, maybe 2-time defending state champs. They're the number 1 seeds. Okay. That's pretty straightforward. They won their region. It's regions in the big schools, kind of like what we think of as our districts in Florida. They won it. But what's weird is the number 2 seed is a team they beat in that region, Glen Academy. So to be a top 4 seed doesn't mean that you have to win your region.
Yeah.
They just will seed it based upon what they think.
See, I'm just sorry. I'm just out in fantasy world. There's a place that seeds. I'm sitting here thinking, oh, Saturday is going to be
Seeds.
the afterthought championship finals.
Yeah, no,
That's beautiful.
it is beautiful. It really is. I do think that probably there's some question about whether Glen Academy should be the 2 seed or not. Creekview is an absolute great team. Jackson County is the 3 seed.
I mean, seeds aren't always gotten right. Look at college
No,
football,
they're
but it's
not.
better. You had a better chance of them getting it right.
Look at
Yes. Well, we're not seeing we're not we're not seeing, the top 2 teams meet in the first round and
Right.
then nobody else advances. The other thing that's different about Georgia is they wrestle once we get to the round of 16. Well, not even this, honestly. So back in, and I don't know if you guys do this in Florida, but at the district level or the region level, they'll wrestle a consolation back to true second.
Some districts do.
Some districts do.
Florida is the Wild West, and there will be some. You can choose how your district. You do it in a district meeting. You could have a round robin. It can be a single elimination. It can be a true second. It could be double elimination, but third place doesn't wrestle a true second. I've seen them all. A couple of them were 2 or 3 schools are the only ones that decided to compete in it. So they did a duel or a try. It's but there were some. I feel like the ones that do it right. I think the best way to do is either a true round robin, and you can do that if you have 6 teams or less in your district competing. You can do it in one day, or a true second, because
Well,
that's the way
yeah,
it should be done. But not
yeah.
everybody does it that way.
Which I don't
It's
even want to
amazing.
say. Yeah, that's okay. In Georgia this weekend, you'll have 16 teams, but they'll wrestle back. There'll be a double elimination bracket. So you will
Uh,
wrestle back the third and fourth.
that's a whole other thing I have a problem with.
well, I know in
You
district,
You have
lose
a
and you're
problem with,
gone. You lose and you
yeah.
go home. So you have to find something to do on
I know at
Saturday.
least with our district, it was one single elimination.
You had single elimination. Did you have a true second there? I can't remember.
I don't know, but I know that it was a really long drive to turn
To
around,
wrestle one
To
match.
one match,
or to turn around after 30 minutes and drive back.
See, and I
which
think that doesn't help the sport, right? I mean, parents don't want to do that. They get frustrated by it.
Yeah, they yours was a straight single elimination, no true second wrestle at in 1A6. But the real issue I think is the Friday Saturday, and you ask teams to come. You're gonna have teams driving up. You know, Cypress Bay did it for what 6 years. They drove up every year on Friday night just to
To
lose to
get
South
beat by
Dade
South Dade. Yeah.
and then head home. You'll have a team that will come from the Panhandle, in years past, and they'll have a Clay or a Fleming Island in the first round, and they're driving 8 hours, and then you're done, and you still gotta get a hotel. I don't know why Florida won't do this. We do it in every other tournament. I know it's all about uh, they don't want they don't do that in basketball, so it's an antiquated thinking. Those teams that come to Florida this weekend, they could do it at Osceola, wrestle them back, and have a third place, just let everybody get mat time that comes there. And then you have more people there at the finals, which is what they do in Georgia. And so then people stick around and you have more people watching the matches that matter because they've been seeded.
Well, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's really smart because you keep people in the gym and
It's
more
another
people
day
are
of,
there
hey,
absolutely
FHSA, it's
watching.
another day of ticket sales.
And how
And
much
it's
more
another day of
fun,
parking, and it's another day of concessions.
and to be honest, how much more fun is it to be at a dual tournament? I mean, watching the kids, you know, cheer as a team and the camaraderie and it's just, I don't know, there's something about being in a dual tournament.
But just have more people stick around and have things to wrestle for.
it's fun and
It's
it's
just,
fun.
yeah.
We can do it in Florida. Osceola can pull it off. We can do it other places, but it's an FHSA thing. They don't want to change things around.
So
And we're supposed to be so happy that they gave us the state tools that we just
I know.
take
And
it
I
and
don't
say,
want and I don't want to complain, but the truth of the
Yeah.
matter is I really would like to see it. So,
But on the other hand,
well done, Georgia.
it is, the state duels is probably one of, if not the most fun event to go watch.
I love it. It's my favorite weekend. It's so much fun to watch it.
it is fun.
I love
So
duels. I love team stuff like that. Yeah.
I agree. Well, and I've told people in Georgia, I'm like, I mean, to be honest with you, if you could switch, so the duels are done at schools and the individuals are done at the Macon Centraplex, I would flip it around and I would do duels all in one location and I would
Yes.
do the individual. If you had to choose,
If you had to choose.
I want all of them in one location, but if you had to choose, the duels that are going on, the atmosphere last year for Buford Camden was great at Buford. But if that were happening in front of
Everyone that
3,000
else is there.
fans
Yes.
and everybody around, it would have been unbelievable. It is what we need to do to grow the sport. Anyway,
The best two moments at Florida State duels are when 2A region finals wrestle, because you have some 1A people hanging around and you have 3A people start to show up. So you have a packed gym then, and the first two rounds of the semifinals on Saturday morning, because you have a packed gym, you have 3A waiting to wrestle theirs, and it's not as packed as it is the night before, but it's loud as it was the night before. And the rest of the time, you don't have as many butts in the seats because
yep,
people lose and leave, or
Yep.
they don't get there in time.
you are 100%.
But I'll tell you what,
And
those
the
semifinals
2A
and
finals,
that
the 2A
Friday
finals
2A region
actually-
finals are awesome. That was loud. It was loud, but there weren't people that were not invested being able to watch that and experience that and be like, man, this is you had a great fan base of Lake Gibson, a great fan base of Jesuit. All six teams had great fan bases. But I want the teams that came all this way to see it and be like, wow, this is what wrestling can be.
But I mean,
That's what it can be
if
when
you
put it on
looked at
stage.
the 1A and the 3A mats, even those kids and coaches
We're watching. Yeah.
Are
were
watching.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
what
Because
was
at the end of
going
the
on
day,
over
we're
there?
all fans.
We're all fans of it. We all want to see it happen. And I
mean-
tell you, the teams that lost in the semifinals, they should have find a reason to have them stick around so they can watch it too, because that's what the sport is doing. We've got to promote it right.
Well, shout out to Billy Pankey at Buchholz, who his kids were
Keeps them
eliminated,
around.
I think, day one,
Yeah.
but they stayed for the finals. They watched
Yeah.
the whole thing. Now, I know what he's doing there. He's building a level of culture and understanding of what you have to do to get to that level to be able to compete for a state championship, but he also is a fan. I mean, and the more we can do that,
Yep.
it doesn't matter.
Yep.
All right, so to wrap up, Georgia,
Yes.
In 3A, our number one seed is Jefferson. If you don't know Jefferson, they probably have more state titles, more champions, more. They're Brandon, except that Jefferson's still at a really, really high level. Um, Not to say Brandon's not, but they've taken a step back from what we kind of
And
expected
they
under
don't
Russ
wrestle
Cozart.
duels.
They don't wrestle duels, which I that's a whole
That's a
other
whole other.
thing.
I'm sorry, I keep putting you on
That's
tangents.
a
Go back.
whole other thing.
Sending you all.
Um,
Tell us about
Jefferson
it.
is your
Tell us
one
about it,
seed.
Jason. Tell us how you feel about that, Jason.
West Lawrence is your 2 seed. Gilmer's your 3 seed. Lovejoy County is your 4 seed. 3A is going to be fun. But in my opinion, if I could attend simply based upon like some really kind of unknowns in the state of Georgia, I would either go to 2A or 4A. And 4A has defending state champs Central Carroll, another defending champs. Well, I don't know if they won state duels. I know they won traditional. Ola, you have Woodland, Cass. You just have some really good teams in 4A. You don't know. I think Central Carroll is probably going to win it, but you just don't know. And that kind of makes it fun for me. And in 2A, Rockmart is the standard bearer, but you've got Columbus and Lovett and Cook and some really, really good teams down in 2A, small schools that I think is going to produce some absolutely like 37, 36, you know, a pin happening out of nowhere that like flips the duel on its head. So those are the ones that I love to watch good wrestling, but I love the ones where and I should say this before we finish. So I was in Florida, or I was in Alabama watching Thompson Vestavia wrestle, and Thompson's beating Vestavia. They're on their way to the dual win. Their 215 is up 14-4 when he gets flipped and pinned. Vestavia gets a pin at heavyweight and wins the duel.
Oh,
That
That's
is that's what makes duels so awesome.
so if you had to pick spots in Georgia to go to, you're going to 2A or 4A.
I am, yeah. I mean,
And
look,
2A is what?
I
That's
want to transport to Buford Camden. I want to watch that duel.
yeah.
But if as
if
far
you're
as a
spending the whole
bracket,
day, yeah.
yeah, if I'm spending the whole day and I
And
want to
where are
watch a
they?
bracket
Where's
wrestle,
Buford Camden? Which A is that?
that is 6A. That is big classification.
So 2A is,
Really small.
and that's the social circle one.
No, they're one up
They're
from
1A.
Social Circle. 1A is Social Circle. Um,
I barely
and
remember
I
part
like
of
the
them. I don't
I
know.
like the unknown. I like the unknown from a fan's perspective. I don't know who is going to necessarily win, and any team can put together something, and a coach can move some pieces around to make something happen. Those are the duels I really like to watch. So
Which is going to happen in Florida. It's just not going to happen in the title. 2A and 1A, I can't tell you who's going to win either of them. I have some ideas. And you tell me what weight we're starting at, I have some more ideas. Unfortunately, it just won't be in the final. But that's what makes the weekend fun, is that there will be duels there that you watch and you're going to determine who the state champ likely is.
well, and that could
it's fun.
and in 1A that won't happen even in Kissimmee for everybody to watch.
Yeah. Well, it
I
could
mean,
happen.
you might happen in the final or between
You'll
two
have
of those teams.
you'll have the semifinals could be my 1-2, which is Zephyr Hills Christian and Mater Lakes, but you won't have the Cardinal Gibbons Mater Lakes, and you won't have the Merritt Island Zephyr Hills Christian. So you could have 1-2 there in the semis in the morning on Saturday. Somerset likely waiting for the Lake Gibson Tampa Jesuit winner,
yeah.
and South Aid just measuring their ring sizes.
Which they did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, measuring their fingers. When you go on, it was the second time around. I mean, what finger are you on? But still some interesting matches that'll happen in 3A, and teams that want to make it to Saturday and a team that wants to make it to the finals. But the finals will not be the highlight of that weekend.
And I think you talked about Brandon, but is it true that Fleming Island also chose not to participate?
Fleming Island did not participate. Fleming Island might have 6 wrestlers right now, varsity.
And Fleming Island, just so everybody knows, we talked about South Dade and Lake Gibson. Number 3 on the all-time wins list
Yes.
in state duels is Fleming Island.
Without a title.
Without a title.
That they made the finals I can tell you in a few times
They did.
against South Dade and gave South Dade a little bit of a run one of the years. They have reached the finals 3 times and had 3 region titles or 6 region titles, 3 final appearances.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
And not
here they're not
not,
going to be there.
not
Did you do
competing.
your own
They didn't-
database or did I share mine?
I have my own.
We should just share.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're looking at FHSA for your brackets instead of mine, so I'm gonna tell you right now, when people woke up Sunday morning, they didn't have all the teams on the brackets on FHSA. On Saturday night, all of my brackets were filled out and on my site.
I'll just share.
Boom! Mic drop.
I'll just share all of my databases with you guys. It'll really enlighten
Yeah,
you.
it'll take a minute.
Yeah. You'll be able to look at it and go, okay, I saw everything I need to see.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
I need to see if I may need to update mine from last year, but I know I think it's updated even through that. So there you go.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's gonna be a fun weekend no matter what state you're in, honestly.
Yes.
Fine. And guys, please, around the Southeast, obviously, go to SE Wrestle. I think everything is on, what's that thing called that you're on now?
Yeah, I put it on Substack. So
Awesome.
hopefully people are getting emails every day of a new story that's popping up and
So follow
Yeah.
on Substack. It's pretty cool. I get an email every day, multiple times. And then obviously here in Florida, Brant has everything updated for the duels coming through. There's brackets, there's everything.
Thursday night we'll have 24 region pods take place, and if it's not on track, I've already got confirmation from 6 of them that they will be sending me the bout sheet. So we should have nearly every result from nearly every duel on Thursday night.
do you think that would it be too much for us to potentially have an idea of what the lineups might look like for the final 8 and maybe look at a specific match or two that could be important next week?
Yeah, my actual goal, which this is all how we offline stuff we can talk about too, but is to reach out to all the coaches Friday with what I think could be a projected lineup and have them tell me if I'm right or wrong, and just tell them you don't need to commit to this. You can even put in some
Right.
chicanery if you want.
Well, yeah.
Like
Exactly.
if you know your guy's going to just weigh 1 pound more this week, so he can bump up 2 weight classes, that's fine. You don't need to tell me that. But yeah, I'm going to try to have lineups for each of the region finals as part of my preview that will go live some point next week.
Yeah, because I'm sure they have in their mind, like someone like a Blasucci probably has six different lineups made up already, depending on who he's firing against.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be someone that wrestles 132 that's going to weigh 133.1 if there's a 1 pound allowance, so that way he can go up to 44. Yeah, I mean, they all know the stuff better than I do, but if you at least have an idea of where guys could be, that's what should be on my preview if I'm able to put it together and get help from coaches. Also going to attempt to talk to all 24 coaches that will be there also. I'll see how many of them take me up on that.
All right.
Well,
Well, guys, great week, man. Dan,
Yes.
get off the drugs.
Yeah.
good luck, everybody.